in Los Angeles. Yo Gotti was staying at the same hotel at the time, and initial reports named him as a person of interest. The LAPD later cleared Gotti, but his associate Corey McClendon was arrested for attempted murder before being released without charges. Through all of this, Dolph survived. He kept making music. He kept making money, and he kept talking. But Big Juke, according to prosecutors, was keeping score. What allegedly happened next would only come to light years later in a Memphis courtroom when a man on trial for his life started naming names. Prosecutors alleged that Big Juke, frustrated by years of disrespect and failed attempts, fired 100 rounds throughout his stay in Charlotte, North Carolina. Dolph miraculously recovered unharmed and went on to give his show that same evening. The event turned what ought to have been a tragedy into a commercial success by inspiring his album Bulletproof and the track 100 Shots. One of the first people accused in relation to the incident was Black Youngsta, a CMG artist. The message from Dolph's camp was unmistakable, even if the charges were later dismissed. There had been an unsuccessful attempt by someone on Gotti's side to remove him. Dolph was then repeatedly shot outside the Loews Hollywood Hotel in Los Angeles in September 2017. Initial reports identified Yo Gotti as a subject of interest when he was staying at the same hotel. The one on Dolph's life made the decision to place a $100,000 wager on his opponent's head for the person who could ultimately silence young Dolph. Apparently, he wasn't going to stop there. A hit list was discovered in court records that came to light during the trial. At $100,000, young Dolph was the highest. Dolph's cousin Key Glock, the second biggest artist on Paper Route Empire, was reportedly valued at $50,000. The rewards for other PR members were less. Moochie Grape at $5,000, Snoop Bands at $20,000, and PR Wu at $50,000. The tale of Big Juke without mentioning the guy whose shadow hangs over everything that happens after. The Memphis rap culture dreaded and needed young Dolph, whose real name was Adolph Thornton Jr., also known as Young Dolph. At the same time, he was utterly unyielding in his vision, independently rich and fiercely dedicated to his Paper Route Empire label. Dolph did something that was practically unheard of in the music industry when Yo Gotti called him in 2014 and offered him a position at CMG. He stated, "The fight between young Dolph and Yo Gotti became the stuff of Memphis folklore as their argument gradually grew into something far more lethal. Record agreements were no longer the only thing at stake. It concerned land, pride, and who was rightfully entitled to the title of King of Memphis." Yo Gotti's release of The Art of Hustle coincided with the release of young Dolph's debut album, King of Memphis, in February 2016. It was an obvious message. This was more than simply rivalry. It was a war. Both parties were disrespectful, but Dolph went over and above. He dropped the Savage song, Play With Yo, in 2017, which called Yo Gotti Hawati, and included a music video in which a Gotti impersonator was humiliated. The melody didn't just attack Gotti. It went after Big Juke, specifically in Memphis. Words like that don't just fade away. They echo through the streets, through the housing projects, and through the trap houses and the studios. And they demand a response. The response came in bullets. In February 2017, Big Juke, specifically in Memphis, words like that don't just. Young Dolph's bulletproof SUV was sprayed with over, didn't merely assault Gotti, it primarily targeted Big Juke. Words like those don't simply disappear in Memphis. They reverberate through the streets, the housing developments, the studios, and the trap houses. And they want an answer. Bullets were the answer. Specifically, in February 2017, IG Juke words like those don't only happen in Memphis. While young Dolph was in Charlotte, North Carolina, his armored SUV was sprayed with more than 100 shots. Dolph miraculously recovered unharmed and went on to give his show that same evening. The event turned what ought to have been a tragedy into a commercial success by inspiring his album Bulletproof and the track 100 Shots. Among them was Black Youngsta, a CMG artist. 100 rounds while he was in Charlotte, North Carolina. Miraculously, Dolph emerged without a scratch and performed his concert that same night. The incident inspired his album Bulletproof and the single 100 Shots, turning what should have been a tragedy into a marketing triumph. Black Youngsta, a CMG artist, was among those initially charged in connection with the shooting. The charges were eventually dropped, but the message from Dolph's camp was clear. Someone on Gotti's side had tried to take him out, and they had failed. Then, in September 2017, Dolph was shot multiple times outside the Lowe's Hollywood Hotel. In 2024, shots rang out in the parking. To understand what happened on that January afternoon, we need to go back, way back to the streets of Memphis, Tennessee, where two brothers were building something that would change the city's music scene forever. Anthony Mims, known to everyone as Big Juke, wasn't just Yodi's older brother. He was the backbone of an empire. While Mario Yodi Mims became the face of Collective Music Group, signing platinum-selling artists like Moneybagg Yo, ESTG, and Glorilla, Big Juke operated behind the scenes as a project manager and talent scout, the man who kept the machine running. His Instagram wasn't filled with flexing or showing off. Instead, it was dedicated almost entirely to promoting CMG events and artists. He was the connector, the facilitator. To fully comprehend what transpired on that January afternoon, we must travel back in time to the streets of Memphis, Tennessee, where two brothers were creating something that would permanently alter the city's music landscape. Big Juke, as everyone calls Anthony Mims, was more than simply Yodi's elder brother. He was an empire's backbone. Big Juke worked behind the scenes as a project manager and talent scout, keeping the machine going while Mario Yodi Mims became the face of Collective Music Group and signed platinum-selling artists like Moneybagg Yo, ESTG, and Glorilla. He didn't spend a lot of time flaunting or flexing on Instagram. Rather, it was virtually solely focused on promoting CMG events and performers. He served as the link, the operator, the one who made sure the business side of things kept moving while his younger brother collected accolades and chart positions. But in Memphis, success comes with a price, and that price often gets paid in blood. The story of Big Juke cannot be told without mentioning the man whose shadow looms over everything that follows. Young Dolph, Adolph Thornton Jr., was everything the Memphis rap scene needed and feared. At the same time, he was independently wealthy, fiercely loyal to his Paper Route Empire label, and absolutely uncompromising in his vision. When Yodi came calling around 2014, offering Dolph a chance to join CMG, Dolph did something almost unheard of in the music industry. He said, "No." That rejection didn't sit well, and what started as a business relationship turned into a mentorship, where he ensured that the financial side of things continued to run smoothly as his younger brother gained recognition and chart places. However, success in Memphis has a cost, and that cost frequently takes the form of blood. It is impossible to tell